Historic Lynn is an ongoing series that will take a look at the 24 places in Lynn that are listed in the National Register of Historic Places. To be included in this list means that a location or object has been deemed worthy of preservation. For a property to be eligible for the National Register, it must meet at least one of the 4 National Register main criteria. Number 1, event. Means that the property must make a contribution to the major pattern of American history. Number 2, person. Is associated with significant people of the American past. Number 3, design construction. Concerns the distinctive characteristics of the building by its architecture and construction, including having great artistic value or being the work of a master. Number 4, information potential. Is satisfied if the property has yield or may be likely to yield information important to prehistory or history. On today's installment of Historic Lynn, we are going to examine St. Stephen's Memorial Episcopal Church and both the old and current post office buildings. Our first stop is St. Stephen's Memorial Episcopal Church. St. Stephen's is located at 74 South Common Street and was built in the 1880s by Boston businessman Enoch Mudge. With a massive 130-foot tall bell tower housing 10 bells, weighing over 10,000 pounds total, and a beautiful interior highlighted by stained glass windows from the very prestigious Tiffany & Company. This is easily one of the most beautiful churches in the area. The church itself is 68 feet wide and 90 feet long in the shape of a Latin cross, with the altar facing east. We were able to sit down with St. Stephen's Parish historian Chris Trahant and senior priest Jane Gould to talk about the history of the church and its present-day functions.
I'm the Reverend Jane Soyster Gould, and I am the senior priest at St. Stephen's Memorial Episcopal Church. I've been here for a little bit over 10 years, and you can find the church on the corner of Blossom and South Common at 74 South Common Street here in downtown Lynn.
Hello, my name is Christopher Trahan, and I am the parish historian here at St. Stephen's Memorial Episcopal Church in Lynn, Massachusetts, on the Lynn Common. St. Stephen's was built by the generous gift of Enoch Reddington Mudge in 1880 in memory of his 2 children, Fanny Olive Mudge Van Brunt and Lieutenant Colonel Charles Reddington Mudge. Charlie, as he's often known as, was killed at the Battle of Gettysburg during the Civil War. And his older sister, Fanny Olive, really wanted her father to give St. Stephen's a lasting legacy, a memorial. The plan was to redecorate our original church edifice over on North Common Street. When questioning the architects how the original St. Stephen's edifice would turn into the current edifice, Weir and Van Brunt said, "You start over, build new." Enoch favored that plan, and in 1880, ground was broken to build this structure, the cornerstone being laid in 1880. Mrs. Mudge was very sick at the time and very ill. So, without haste, Enoch ordered that the builders and the contractors work straight through the night, and this building was completed in roughly 1 year's time. The sad part is, and the ironic twist of fate here, is that Mrs. Mudge did survive to see the church consecrated. It was Mr. Mudge who passed away the beginning of October of 1881, therefore never seeing the church consecrated and opened for public worship. His funeral service was held here, and it was the first service to be held in this building. This church, Enoch Reddington Mudge spared no cost. He also wanted the finest that money could buy. All of the windows in the church come from Tiffany Studios with Associated Artists in New York City. Tiffany Studios at that time in 1879, when the windows were originally commissioned, would employ other artists to design the windows. Tiffany would then execute those designs in glass. The two transept windows, which are faces north and south, depict the opening and close of Christ's life on earth. The Annunciation window depicts the angel Gabriel coming to Mary to inform Mary of her chosenness by God to bear the Messiah, Christ. The Ascension window depicts Christ ascending into heaven on the 40th day after Easter. In the back of the church, facing west, there are two windows depicting St. Stephen preaching and then St. Stephen being stoned to death. The smaller windows around the church are believed to be Tiffany's own design, as they depict scenes from nature. That was more of Tiffany's style. All of the windows here are also unique in the sense that none of them have any paint. He used layers of glass to get the appropriate skin tones, to get depth and movement. We also have an inside window and an outside window, another technique that Tiffany will later dump as part of his practice. These windows are now potentially among the oldest ecclesiastical Tiffany windows in the world. We have 10 bells in our bell tower. In 1885, the parish raised the funds to install 10 bells. By the late 1980s, the bells have become silent and are still silent to this day. The church itself on the outside is built of red granite. It was quarried right off his estate on today's Olmsted District in Swampscott, Massachusetts. And the inside of the church is made of sandstone quarried from Nova Scotia. The granite in the columns behind me and also outside by the front door are also New Brunswick granite. The ceiling is made out of Georgia pine with hand-carved trusses and Scottish thistle. The Scottish thistle originally hung the gas chandeliers that were in the church at the time of its completion. The church was built to seat 600. The parish really wanted to have some connection between the old England and the new England. And so being an Episcopal church, being a daughter church of the Church of England, the vestry contacted St. Margaret's Church in Kings Lynn, England, and asked for a fragment of their building that could be incorporated here. Much to the surprise of the vestry, when they opened up the package, was a large stone from a window jamb. And that has been set into the walls as you enter through the front doors.
The Episcopal Church is the church of the Protestant Reformation that grew out of Henry VIII having the desire both to remarry, have an heir, and take over monastery lands. So we don't perhaps have the most noble beginning, but like the churches of the Reformation, we are a church that focused on the importance of the Word and the Word being accessible in the language of the people, but we also maintained our Catholic heritage in terms of a focus on the sacrament.
Later additions were added on to the church. There was an adjoining building built in the English country chapel style, and that was connected by two cloisters. The chapel had been converted to be Sunday school classrooms. Tudor-style hall was added. The basement was also used for meetings. And an American collegiate-style wing was added on.
What's great about those late 19th century wonders of art and architecture is that they were built to last. But now St. Stephen's is really in need of restoration. If you come into the building, you'll see that there are places where water is getting into the stonework and plaster and paint are peeling off the walls. And we really are in urgent need of restoring the church. But we're looking at a bill of about $10 million. And for that to happen, it will need to be a commitment of the people of St. Stephen's, the broader Episcopal Church community, the broader Lynn community, and those who are passionate about historic preservation. As a church, our primary purpose is to gather a community so that people can be formed and nurtured in the life of faith, and then sent out to do God's work in the world. Because the Episcopal Church is very fond of saying that the church doesn't have a mission. God's mission has a church. We hold worship services on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. in English, and then at 10 a.m. with full choir and music and sermon, but we also have a service in Kiswahili as we gather a community of East Africans for worship. During the week, we have a service at noon on Thursdays that is a healing service that's open to the whole community for anyone who feels the need and desire for healing. Our food pantry operates on Friday afternoons between 3 and 4. St. Stephen's also holds several events both to raise money but also to raise up our heritage in the city. Every late winter, spring, we hold a soul food celebration, large-scale raffle in the summer. For the last 8 years, St. Stephen's has sponsored Kids in Community, a free summer program. Mid-October, we have our annual fair. We have a very active youth ministry that provides a youth group for teenagers on Friday evenings, but also on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, drop-in time for teenagers. Also in collaboration with ECHO and several other youth-serving organizations in the city, we are working with teenagers so that they can organize for themselves around issues that are of concern to them. Currently, ECHO is working on work around the schools and making sure that the education we offer our young people is what they want and need to be productive citizens in our city and Commonwealth. So if you want to find us, the building's really big. It's on the corner of Blossom and South Common. If you ring the doorbell on Blossom Street any day, someone will answer that door and welcome you in. Our phone number is 781-599-4220, and you can get all the contact information you want on our website, ststephenslynn.org. St. Stephen's tries very hard to honor our 19th century building and be a 21st century church.
Thank you for watching Historic Lynn. We're going to take a short break, but stay tuned, because up next are the old and current post office buildings.
Hello, I am Thomas Jefferson. I would like to take a moment and thank you for watching LynnCam. Be sure to check out LynnCam's schedule online at www.lynncamtv.com. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must go see Benjamin Franklin about a kite. LynnCam TV, connecting you to your world.
LynnCam TV has gone viral. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Flip TV for the up-to-date LynnCam news and video on demand.
Our next stop on Historic Lynn is the old post office building of Lynn, Massachusetts, built in 1896. Ebenezer Breed, a prominent businessman at the time, was instrumental in its construction. It was made in the Renaissance style of architecture. The building features Catholic brick, a popular brick used to make churches in the late 1800s to early 1900s. Postal service had been in the area since the late 1700s, starting with Lynn's first postmaster, Colonel James Robinson, and without a formal building. From 1896 to 1933, it functioned as Lynn's official post office. Today, it houses the Lynn Shelter, as well as my brother's stable. We sat down with Richard McGeary, the Department of Community Development employee in charge of the building, to talk a little about its history and current use.
My name is Richard McGeary. I work for the City of Lynn, Department of Community Development. Currently, one of my projects is managing the Multi-Service Center located at 100 Willow Street in Lynn, formerly known as the Leo Building. And the original address was 360 Washington Street. The building was built originally in 1890 as a U.S. post office. It was voted on as an act of Congress to build a post office located at 360 Washington Street in Lynn. For a number of years it acted as the post office until the new post office, which around 1930 was built. After it became vacant, the new post office down the street was built. I've been told that it was used by the military as a recruiting and an induction center during the World War II and Korean War. Somewhere along the line, the federal government abandoned the building more or less, and in the 60s, Lynn Economics Opportunity, the local anti-poverty agency, took over control of the building and used it as their main operating facility as well as their office facilities. The building became really run down to the point where Leo moved on to other facilities. The building was vacant, really in great disrepair. The Shelter Association basically became a squatter and was operating the shelter in the basement. And then in the late 80s, Mayor DiVigilio and his administration came up with the concept of the Multi-Service Center, and through state and federal grants, acquired the funds to renovate the building, also gained control through a long-term lease with the federal government under the McKinney Act, renovated the facility, and it became the home to My Brother's Table, the local soup kitchen, and the Lynn Shelter Association, as well as other programs servicing the homeless and those in jeopardy of homelessness. The McKinney Act was a federal program which prioritized the use of surplus federal buildings. And it gave, as a number one priority for use, programs that service the homeless or individuals in jeopardy of homelessness. And that was the, under that McKinney Act is how the city acquired the building in conjunction with committed tenants by My Brother's Table and the Lynn Shelter Association. The building originally in 1890, when it was built, we have the original, a copy of the original blueprints. The building was a two-story building. The first floor had high ceilings, almost 18 feet high. During the renovation process, we put in a second floor, so it's now a three-story building. The outside of the building has got some great stone detail, and the outside of the building is on the National Historic Register, and as long as we have stewards of the building, we have to take and maintain the original character of the outside of the building. Inside, there is a little detail as you look around, but not much of the original detailing has been saved or was affordable to be able to be saved. Architecturally, the building had one stairway in the middle of the building. What we found at the ends of the building were two stamp vaults that were at each end of the building, and they were brick vaults that we took down, and we put two stairways in required by fire code at the time. The other interesting architectural detail is that the building's copper domes. They're quite unique. Even when they were built in 1890, they were quite a feature to build. We had to repair them over time. They're quite an architectural detail. The stonework on the outside of the building is fantastic. If you take time to look up and examine it, and beautiful marble columns address the front entrances, both at Washington and in Willow Street. The detail is in the stonework, I think, outside. The current major use of the building is to serve the homeless and those in jeopardy of homelessness. Two major tenants are My Brother's Table, which serves a noontime meal and an evening dinner. They take no federal, no state money, and they welcome all people coming through the doors to partake of their meals. The other major tenant we have is the Lynn Shelter Association. They occupy the lower level, the basement area of the building, and that's where the homeless shelter is. There are shower and toilet facilities. They operate 365 days a year. Again, their primary goal is to house and find programming and services for the homeless. Where this is a program about older buildings and great architecture in Lynn, I would welcome people going by to slow down, maybe even pull over, take an opportunity to look up at the stonework, the arches over the windows, the beautiful marble columns at the entrance, even the copper domes, and admire the workmanship and the quality of the construction that was done back in 1890 to give us this beautiful building.
The last historic building we will be visiting on this episode of Historic Lynn is the U.S. Main Post Office of Lynn. Located at 51 Willow Street, it was built during the Works Progress Administration in 1933. This post office was also built in the Renaissance style of architecture, with paintings added in the Art Deco style to its main hall. Today, this building is very active, providing retail products and services and mail to the citizens of Lynn. We were able to sit down with Postmaster John Muse to discuss some of the building's history and current function.
The Lynn Post Office is located at 51 Willow Street, downtown Lynn. And the office was built in 1933, opened for business in 1934, and it was built under the Works Progress Administration. Just very interesting because it was a tough time in the history of the country. So under the FDR administration, he was trying to put people to work, unskilled and skilled, when he developed or had the law passed for the Works Progress Administration. And I think the building's a testament to the work they did. It's still a great building, standing strong today. In 1936, part again of the rebuilding of America under the New Deal, FDR commissioned people in theater and in the arts, and he had Andrew Reisman was commissioned to do oil on canvas here at the Lynn Post Office. And a lot of paintings were done in post offices around that era. Some were frescoes, painted right on plaster. But here in Lynn, again, they were done oil on canvas, and they were put up a couple of years after the post office became operational. And obviously they remain out there today. They're beautiful. The Lynn Post Office evolved, as did most post offices, under the mandate to deliver mail to all the residents of the country. And we do. We go door to every resident in the United States. And in Lynn, that's the way it began. It began as delivery to the residents of Lynn, Mass. But the post office here in Lynn also evolved to the point where it became a processing center for the North Shore. So mail was processed and shipped out or trucked out to other post offices in the North Shore for about 20 years, in the 60s and in the 70s. After 1979, those duties or that consignment went to Middlesex, Essex, down in Woburn, Mass. And Lynn then reverted back to what it was doing before. We deliver, and again, this encompasses Saugus, Nahant, Swampscott, and all of Lynn proper. We deliver to 58,000 residents, and that's our primary mandate, to deliver mail to all our customers. We also provide retail services, we provide passport services, and we also provide box line services. And we provide those services at 6 different retail locations. I'd say on any given day at the Lynn Post Office here on Willow Street, we could have in excess of 500 visitors. We generally will do 20 to 30 passports a day. The retail associates on the window probably serve more than 100 people a day. But primarily, the lobby traffic is isolated to P.O. box holders. We have 1,350 P.O. box customers, and we probably see at least half of them every day, if not more. So we could have 500 to 600 visitors to our lobby each and every day. The Postal Service at this point in its evolution is actually trying to provide alternate retail access to our customers and to make it more easily approachable and to provide easier access to customers. So you can find products and services online, and you can also buy stamps in other locations. A postmaster is similar to any manager of a small to medium-sized business. We're tasked with managing a budget, managing revenues, and also managing productivities, managing our employees' efficiencies. We're responsible for the overall administration of the business, of this post office. And that would include administrative work, personnel work, and our employees do a tremendous job. The Postal Service is a government agency. We are independent of the government in terms of support. We support ourselves, and since the Postal Service used to be, when it was the Post Office Department, a part of the government, and it was supported by tax dollars. But in 1971, that changed. We became independent and self-supporting. So since 1971, our own revenues support the business. We do, however, have a monopoly over first-class mail, the express statutes. The business has really become competitive in almost every aspect other than that. And some would argue even today that we're competitive with the internet as far as first-class mail goes, because we've lost revenue on first-class mail that's being diverted electronically, primarily through the internet. This building here at 51 Willow Street is a federal building. The Postal Service, I think, at this point in time, we maintain somewhere around 38,000 buildings across the country. Some are leased and some we own. In Lynn, we own this building here at 51 Willow Street. We also own the building in Saugus. At this point, we have 135 carriers. We have 98 routes, and again, that's Lynn, Saugus, Nahant, Swampscott. We have probably about 120 vehicles that go to the street every day. In addition, I would just say that the Postal Service, even though we've talked a little bit about declining mail volumes, will be viable and will be here well into this century. And even though volumes and letter size and oversized letters have dropped, or flats as we call them, parcel post has picked up with online shopping, and the internet to that extent has helped us. And packages, priority mail, will sustain the company well into this century. And the men and women that work for the Postal Service are dedicated. They do a great job. To use our services and our products is a good value, I think, to the American consumer, and we'll be here to deliver to every address in the country. Here at 51 Willow Street in Lynn, our main post office, our hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for box holders. The retail services are available between 8:30 and 5, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to noontime on Saturday. Customers can also find help with our services and our products at USPS.com. And any customer with a question for any mail piece or any problem, or even if they want to put their mail on hold, they can call 1-800-ASK-USPS. But certainly people are also welcome to call down here at the Lynn Main Post Office to 781-586-9015, and we'll be happy to help them with any of their postal needs.
We still have a lot of places in Lynn to visit that are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. We have several more episodes of Historic Lynn left to cover them all. Keep an eye out on www.linncamtv.com for updates on this ongoing series, as well as for airtimes. Also, make sure to visit www.blip.tv/LynnCamTV and www.youtube.com/LynnCamTV for this and other great programs from Lynn Cam TV. Available anytime for your viewing pleasure.